You'll smell the smell of burning coal. You'll see the size of these chunks of coal that these guys, who were called the firemen, would stand here and they would shovel coal all day. That was their job.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming down.
I believe it was 6,000 tons coal on the ship. An incredible amount of coal. It propelled the ship faster than any other ship on this side at the time. When you get a little closer, there's a bit of theater here. There's a mirror effect, so you can see all of the boilers as they come along. There would have been 12 boilers on board the ship, enormous in size. And these guys, the firemen, when the Titanic was sinking, these are the guys who kept shoveling coal to keep the electricity on, there was a door called a watertight door. The Titanic was built, why they called it unsinkable was because there were 11 watertight compartments in the Titanic. So anybody who knows about shipbuilding, sort of like modern day aircraft carriers are built, if one of those chambers is punctured, then the boat can still survive. But if any more than 4, then the boat wouldn't last. And what happened to the Titanic was there was water coming into multiple chambers. They had what was called a watertight door, which is in this image here, sort of in the background. And the captain could control that. So when he heard that the water was flooding, when Bruce Ismay went down, and he was an engineer, went to go see what was happening, you might remember this from the movie, he said, "Captain, it's certain we're going to sink." But they closed those doors, which prolonged the sinking, which allowed a lot more people to survive. So this is the watertight door, and there's stories of these firemen, these guys up on the wall, diving under the watertight doors at the last minute to go and save their friend or to get out and survive. So, you think about, you're in the bottom of the ship. There's water coming in the side of it, and people are shoveling coal so that other people can survive. So these heroes and incredible stories of these crew and people. So as we leave the boiler room, we're going to take you outside now, where you get a little breeze as you come through the door. You're now on the promenade deck. And you can look over and see the sea, catch the breeze as you walk by. One of the important things about the Titanic, the night that the Titanic sailed, is that there was no moon on this night. And why that's important is that when, you all know that the Titanic is an iceberg. And the way that you can see ice in the dark night is by the reflection of the ambient light, which obviously the moon would help significantly. Well, there was no moon that night. So this is a recreation of the stars looking north on that night, April 14th, 1912, of that latitude in the North Atlantic Ocean. So you're out on the boat deck, everything's going okay, you're having a good time, you're on the talk of the world. But back in the background, they had this new Marconi thing I was talking about, which is the telegraph. Brand new, and all the first-class passengers, kind of like, cell phones on the airplanes or whatever it was, they were sending messages. Hey, we're on the Titanic, everything's great, we'll see you in New York in a few weeks. And the other ships at the time heard these, and they were like, they just kept clogging up the lines, chatting, but every once in a while, they received ice warnings. So as you come around this next corner, you'll see some of those iceberg warnings on some panels. They knew that the ice was too far south. They knew that they should have slowed down, but they kept pressing forward to trying to make it to New York. So you see here 145 from the America, the ice report. They passed 2 large icebergs at 42.27 north, 50 west. Ice warning from the Mesaba. Ice warning from the California. They knew that they were in an area where they needed to be careful. So now this is what we call the iceberg gallery. As I mentioned, without that moon and without that extra light, and one other thing, there was a guy in what's called the crow's nest, which is the forward mast on the front of the ship, where a guy would sit and he would look for icebergs. But that night, for some reason, his name was Frederick Fleet. Frederick Fleet didn't have any binoculars. Nobody really is sure why, or why he didn't. But he didn't. Had he, perhaps he would have seen the iceberg and he would have saved lots of lives. But here we talk about, this is where they hit the ship. There's a lot of things to read about from, Lightoller, who was a second officer, from Collier, from many of the people who were on board the ship, and what happened at that moment. But, and back around the corner here, you can also see a video of an animation of what it would have looked like as it hit the ship. But this iceberg here, which is still freezing over, it will be this thick in a few weeks from all the humidity. But what we do is encourage people to put their hand on this. So put your hand here and see how long you can keep it on. And know that this iceberg is 0 degrees. The water